Here we go, folks. We're going to dive right into it. No introductory. Here's the news headlines of the hour. Someone else just did that for you in the pre-recorded stuff. Here's what we're going to get to. I've got Christina Macormic, and I am saying that right,
yes,
right?
You're
Okay,
saying
McCormick.
it right.
I thought so, because there's no, it's just, I heard McCormick, and then there was no like capital letter, small letter, and another capital letter, like this traditional Irish, Scottish thing that we have. I'm like, no, it's all just small letters after the first one. There you go. So Christina Macormic running for the Wentzville School Board. And I'm excited about this because we were just talking off air. Everyone pays so much attention to the national level. Donald Trump this, Kamala Harris that, Joe Biden this. And then we have 50, 60, 70% voter turnout, which in my opinion is still abysmal. Yeah. I mean, the fact that only 3/4 of the registered voters show up and then only half of Americans are registered to vote. That's what I think about that. It's not hard, people. But then for school board, I saw Kurt Barr, director of elections here in St. Charles. I think he was projecting like 10 to 15% turnout for the April municipal elections. And I thought, are you kidding? These are the people who actually live next door to you, and you get their cell phone number on the literature, and then they'll pick up the phone when you say, hey, what's up with this? Or text them.
Yep.
Why in the world do only 10 to 15% show up? So this is important. We're going to beat the drum. And I got a lot of folks chiming in, too. I've heard from all of you. I know we've got Hannibal. There's a few other school districts I got to get into. But here we're going to zero in on Wentzville. So, Christina, how in the world did you get? Where do you come from, and how did you get into this?
How did I come here?
Give me a little background. Are you a native born? Did you always dream of running for school board since you were a little child? But then how? Really?
I gotta get to this place.
What's your background, and then what led you to choosing to run for this year? Because this certainly is under. Sometimes it's kind of under noticed, but also when the heat turns up, like we've seen in Virginia and a few other places. My goodness, does the heat turn up at school board stuff?
Yes.
So why would you want to do this? What brings you to it?
So my background with this is, so I have 5 kids. My oldest is 20 and my youngest is 7. And so my oldest has special needs. And when he was younger, when he started kindergarten, I started noticing some of the things that he wasn't really doing well with at school. And so that kind of led me down a path of kind of looking more into that. Then through having him in school, then I ended up pulling him out. I homeschooled him for a while. We moved to Wentzville in 2017, and I put him back in school. I have 4 other kids. I was getting ready to have a baby, so I put I had 3 other kids at the time. I put them back into school. And during the time that my son was out of school, I did a lot of research on it. I mean, because at the time I was like, I can't blame anybody except myself if he's not well educated, because I'm the only one doing it. And we came here in 2017. The kids were enrolled in school. And then, I was kind of fighting with the schools with him because he had an IEP and just kind of the stuff that goes along with that, where he's on the spectrum. So there was just things I felt like he needed that we weren't getting. He felt like he needed that he wasn't getting. And it was just kind of policies weren't being followed to keep him safe and protected. And then COVID hit. And a lot of people can relate to this. So when COVID happened, if people can remember, this was back in March where our kids were going on spring break and they didn't come back to school. So during spring break, that was around the same, everybody's, what are we doing? What are we doing? They didn't go back to school. We were doing stuff hybrid on the computer, trying to figure that out. And I'm freaking out about COVID as well. And also like, how am I going to help my kids get a better education while we're suffering through all of this? We started kind of, looking at different things that we could do to help them. And then there was a small Facebook group of like 384 people in Wentzville. And they just started talking about what was happening with COVID and how we weren't getting the full story of the things that were going on in the district. We were like, are we going back to school? Because at one point they were telling Wentzville we were only going to go back to school 4 days a week, and other districts close to us were going to go back full time. And we're like, what is going on with this? So through that page, I started meeting other parents that felt exactly like I did in the district. They felt like they weren't being heard. They noticed some of the same struggles that their kids were having in school pre-COVID, but then this just magnified it. And so through all of that, I kind of networked with other people that were just in the same boat that I was, and we started showing up to school board meetings and just being vocal and asking a lot of questions because we didn't really know, like we were able to, I was able to understand how the policies and procedures worked and all that kind of stuff. And I felt like they weren't really happening the way they should, but other parents were also having the same questions. And so through that, that's kind of where this kind of blossomed, I guess. And I met a bunch of people and we all kind of wanted the same stuff for our kids. And then since 2020, I've kind of been around with some of the people that have ran to be on school board or just be involved in what's going on academically within the schools. And then last year, I really thought about it. I was like, this might be something I might really want to do is run for board. My youngest will be in school. She had started kindergarten the year before, and I can devote my entire time to this. I can spend all of my time really diving in and serving my community and trying to help what's going on in the schools and ultimately help not only my kids, but other kids have a better education. And then I'm hearing, and it just so happens that Trump got elected, and then what's happening with the Department of Education and all that kind of stuff. So it's been a real trip, this being the time to do it. But
how long are the Wentzville School Board terms?
So they're 3 years. So this year we have 2 seats up, and then next year we'll have 3 seats up. So, if I get on, I'll be on there for 3 years.
Okay.
Maybe.
So you're running for one of 2 seats. How many total do you know are running?
Well, there's 4.
4 total running? Okay.
So I'm running, Danielle Looney is running, and then there's 2 others that are also running.
Okay.
So we've got 2 seats.
I can tell by whose name you know who you're friends with.
I know, right?
No, but that, this really does, this whole topic of conversation, there's 2 primary things, in my mind. Number one is, it is the big cataclysmic question under all of this is, who ought to be in charge of the education of children?
Yeah.
Parents? Should parents be running the show, even if it's in an oversight capacity? Or are the expert class really the ones who, no, just leave it to us. We know what to do best.
Well, that's how we got here.
Well, exactly. And that's the thing. This is the fundamental question underneath every election, big or small, whether it's Linda McMahon coming with a sledgehammer for the federal department or you coming to Wentzville. I want to know where that question stands. So we'll dive into a little bit more of it on the other side of the break, folks. We're on with Christina Macormic, running for Wentzville School Board. We'll be back in a minute. Hey, we're back on the reckoning. Cruising into this next segment here. We've still got Christina Macormic in with us, running for Wentzville School Board. Where can folks follow you, by the way, as we're going along? I mean, I know this isn't exactly as flashy as all the White House nonsense. Like, everyone's going to Twitter to see what happened. People can call you, but where do they follow you online and find more about you?
So I'm on Facebook. So it's Christina Macormic for Wentzville School Board. So it's a public page. You can find me on there. And then also you can email me at McCormick4WSD at Gmail. Okay. So they can reach me there as
McCormick for WSD at gmail.com. That's MACORMIC. Not like the spice.
Right. I tell people that all the time.
Spice.
I'm like, it sounds like the spice, but it's not the spice.
Sounds like it's.
But you can bring some spice to the board. That's fine. Okay. But
oh my gosh, I love puns after names. I'm excited now. I'm not in Wentzville, but I know people in Wentzville.
Yeah.
And we're voting for you based on this. No, I'm kidding. This is we got more to talk about before I decided. No, but it's true. We're just talking off the break and kind of started in the last segment. Underneath all of these things is really, we could get into the nuts and bolts. And I mean, I could ask you about what are you going to do about this policy and this policy and this policy. But the reality is, what about your philosophy? Why are you here? What are the schools here for? What's the purpose of the schools? It's to educate kids. Okay, fine. Who's best suited to guide and direct that? Is it parents, or is it people, so-called experts taught by an expert class of other experts who've been self-replicating experts for a long time? I happen to think that while there are certain skill sets and tools and a lot of, I'm always excited to learn from teacher friends. Because we homeschool.
Me too.
And whenever, as we're homeschooling our boys, we come across something, man, teachers are always just a wealth of, oh, hey, well, have you tried this or this or this?
Absolutely.
Man, there's a skill set here I love. However, there's also the philosophy that no one loves and wants to provide for and knows my child better than me.
Absolutely.
So the question is always, who's in the driver's seat? And I think so much of the big kerfuffle that always pops up around school boards is that people say, oh, well, parents should be in the driver's seat. Okay, so do you go to the school board meetings?
Right.
Well, do you know who's on your school board? Well, and then when everyone suddenly does finally get engaged, you realize at a lot of school boards, there's not quite the openness. We just, Loudoun County 2021, if anything, I think pulled back the curtain on what's happening. And I'm not pointing fingers at Wentzville, Francis, Howell, anyone else in St. Charles County.
But everybody
beyond.
saw that.
Everyone saw Loudoun County, Virginia, and realized, oh my gosh, these folks have no interest in accountability. I mean, it really is like the same thing we saw in 2020 with health experts. 2021 was education experts. Experts. Let me get the air quotes in there better. People started going, okay, I really got to get a handle on my people, my local community. So let me ask you this, because again, I'm not here for you to hypothetically give me what you're going to do. But in this era where, like I just reported the end of the last hour, Linda McMahon seems ready to potentially follow through on what we've asked for decades, which is shut down the federal Department of Education, No money, no oversight, no nothing at the federal level, all at the state level, which means these folks are going to be a lot more responsive
They have to be
to
held
you and me, the
accountable.
taxpayer, and they're going to be a lot more responsive to the school districts.
Yep.
The federal level doesn't care. They don't listen.
Right.
So in light of this brand new opportunity, what are some things that maybe in general, and again, I'm not looking for you to pick a fight with anyone, what are a couple of primary criticisms, things you want to see change, Wentzville specifically, and what are a couple of things, maybe 2 or 3 priorities? I really want to implement this. This is a good direction to go.
So
You take
I
it from
really want to be able to, one, we need to look at our what we're doing with our taxpayer money. Okay. We need to budget this stuff well. We actually have a proposition L that they're wanting to ask for $130 million more dollars to be borrowed for our district. And there's a lot of things they want to do with that. And they're not all bad things. I mean, you want new stuff for school. You want your kids to be in a great environment that they can thrive in. But we need to be taking a look at, being responsible with the funds that we do have. So there's going to be a lot of that. I want to be able to go through, and they have it on the website, so you can see where they're spending the money. But
that was my question. Is there a line item?
there is, but
okay.
if the average person was to look at this, they're not going to know what really they're looking at. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And so I want to go. I mean, I actually have the binder. I printed it out. It's a lot of pages, and I got my highlighter out, and I just started highlighting things that I was like, these are things I'm going to have questions about. I want to understand exactly what you're using this for. This is stuff I don't think that is a good idea. But again, I'm not a dictator, so we've got to work with the board on that. So being responsible with the money that the taxpayers are giving to the schools to educate our kids is really, really, really important. My taxes are going up every year. I mean, just insane. And we're spending so much money per kid in school. Are we getting, I think it was $12,000. I'd have to look back per pupil in our district. Is your kid getting a $12,000 year education? Our numbers are in the tank for reading, writing, and arithmetic. I mean, they're not great. So, and I did homeschool for a while, so I understand that, like, you don't have to use a ton of money to get a quality education. You really don't. You can be frugal with what you have and really give a good education to children. And I feel like that's a philosophy I can bring to the board that's a little bit outside of the box. I don't think we've had a homeschooling previously before parent on the board that I know of. And I think other states we have, but it's just a different aspect. And then also, like, to the point you were saying earlier, when I did homeschool, other teachers that end up homeschooling their kids, I learned so much from them. They were a great wealth of information. So I really want to be able to work with them that are in the schools. What are their struggles? What do they see? I mean, they're with our kids every single day. So that's something I also want to be able to look at. And then I have a kid with, and I have a couple kids with IEPs. And when I was a parent first starting off with that, it was a struggle to understand just the ropes of special education, how to go through the process. What if I didn't agree? Just that kind of stuff. So I really want to put in place a policy that kind of helps navigate that with parents so that they kind of better understand what they're going through, and maybe some key people that they can reach out to, that they can touch to, not just the case manager, and maybe have some of just a little bit more help and guidance on how that stuff happens, because it's a lot that comes to you, and you're taking in the fact that for me, it was my kid has special needs. So I'm absorbing just all this information they're giving me, and then I'm trying to understand the process to do that. So I really want to be able to have a policy in place to help parents with that. And and I want to make sure that we're responsible with the money that we have, and make sure that we're doing the best that we can with these kids. I mean, the reading and the writing and the math scores are just awful. They're just awful. So,
and that's, there's always, I think everyone thinks of the social engineering stuff. We don't like, this or that in the classrooms or as a part of the school. And that's one side of the conversation. But the other really just is educational standards, which, to your point, I mean, nationally, we spend so much more money every year, and yet we continue to find ourselves falling. So you have to ask, well, hold on. Is the system even worth it? Like, not only what we're doing, but the measuring stick that we're using for standardized, is any of this worth it anymore? So is there who's in charge of curriculum for the district? Is that something that the board has direct oversight over, or does it operate through the administration?
So we can approve the curriculum that comes in. So we'll have curriculum reviews, and then they'll bring to us curriculum that they want us to approve over. And that's something that I really want to be able to look at that, find the data behind that. I want to be able to, honestly, I want to be able to look at it myself. I want to be able to, do you have a copy of this I can look at? Can I thumb through this? Can we bring this to other people to look at as well? But that you're not just coming in and selling me as a salesman on a curriculum that you want us to use because for whatever reason, because I feel like I've actually watched in our board meetings before where we've had curriculum come in and they're at the podium explaining this, And I've seen board members ask for the data on this stuff, and they're like, well, we'll get back to you, and then we approve it. And I'm like, what are we doing? Why are we doing that? So, and then another thing, our district has finally gotten rid of this, but I don't know if you've heard it. Lucy Calkins, she has a reading program. We used that for a long time in our district. We're not anymore. She's being sued up north because there wasn't enough information behind what she was telling people to actually back up it being a good thing for our kids. So we really need to be looking at that kind of stuff, I think. And I think a lot of people I've talked to feel the same way.
Right. And I think that as we get more into again, it's an example, but from the federal side where everyone's paying attention, the more you get into government contracts and different things and where's, procurement and buying, you go, wait a minute, did you buy this because it was the best thing or it was the best, the best use of tax dollars? Or did you buy it because someone knows someone who's related to so-and-so's cousin, or we already had a deal and you had to, and I think we all have to wonder how much of that goes on when it comes to curriculum and contracts in the school district.
More than we would probably want to admit.
Well, and that's the question. We're spending all this money, and you look and go, but could we do a better job and spend like half the money? Because we keep finding federal agencies where that's possible.
Yes.
How much more at the local
level?
We're
spending over $300 million to run this district for a year. That's a lot of money. That is a lot of money. We have 17,000 plus kids. It's under 18,000. That's a lot of students. But when you look at what we spend on curriculum versus just the operations of the school, we're spending less on the curriculum than we am on the operations of the school. And I think what's most important is the kids getting the education that they need, right? And then the teachers getting the support that they need to be able to implement that stuff in the classrooms. So, I mean, it sounds simple to me, but apparently it's very not simple to some people. So
not simple at all. Well, sometimes there's
layers to it, but
we overcomplicate. Hey, can you stick around with me for a few minutes? Great. Christina's going to come back on the other side of the break. Again, Christina Macormic running for Wentzville School Board. We got a little bit more we're going to talk about. Taking a break for some ads. We'll be right back, folks. Hey, we're back on the reckoning, cruising into the second half of the hour, the home stretch. We are there, and I'm excited that we're still with Christina Macormic. Excuse me. I'm so excited. I'm just going to say your name wrong. Christina Macormic, running for Wentzville School Board. Go and find her on Facebook. Christina Macormic for Wentzville School Board. It's very straightforward. It's working well. But I do find that, we're playing a bunch of rock music here and we're talking to a school mom who's running for school board, and yet we're playing all the rocky music. So it's a little bit of a weird mix, but that's okay. We're all,
it works.
We're all a new generation here. But no. Christina, I appreciate a lot of your perspective. It's just we were talking off the break, and again, I'm not asking you to get into hypotheticals, but I'm really curious. I do appreciate so much the understanding that people have who have done different kinds of education.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's not just like, oh yeah, I've been a public school mom my whole life. No. I did some homeschooling for a little while, and we looked at this. It brings a very interesting perspective on how do we do this best for our children.
Right.
How do we spend our dollars wisely, pick a curriculum, this and that and the other. Let me think how to ask this. Well, what are some outside the box ideas that you have? I'm not looking for you to commit to something. Everyone listening,
everyone's gonna be like,
this is not a campaign promise. What are some outside the box things that you can think of? Because you bring a very good perspective to this. You've done it before. That Wentzville could implement, you'd like to see moving forward.
So I really want to take a look at some of the curriculum that's going through. We kind of spoke on that a little bit. I have in my basement, probably my husband would kill me if he knew how much money we spent on curriculum over all the years. But we have so much, and there's, I do like classical education. I think it's very valuable. I like history and that kind of stuff. So I do want to kind of look into different models of education and bring that in. I like the idea that there's a lot of play involved when you're in the younger grades. I think that's really important. A lot of the testing that we do in school, which is so much, it's so much testing. I know that's at a state level, and they're like, we got to do it. We have MAP testing, but then we have testing. I think these kids are getting tested a couple times a month just from the standardized aspect on top of just the regular stuff. So I really want to take a look at that. I don't know. We were just talking about it. Now I'm drawing a blank on it.
Well, no, and that's great because it really is. We're seeing more than ever before by the numbers, a mass exodus from public school.
Yeah.
And I think it's because people, we could go down the list. Bad influences or mismanaged or bad, whatever it is. But the reality, I think a lot of people are realizing, okay, educationally, this is not working out the best for my kid. There's other stuff out there. that is helping them love to learn and not
Yes.
just,
Yes.
I know how to answer the questions you guys are going to ask me on the test and I don't have to.
Right.
think
And
of
then I'll
anything
forget
else.
about it later.
Well, no, like I want my kids to love to teach themselves stuff and to
Yes.
just learn about something and to kind of lock it away and figure out not just how to fill in the blank, but how to put things together
Problem
for life.
solving, being able to understand, I think there's nothing wrong with you being able to figure out how to answer questions on your own. I'm somebody that I have a lot of questions and I love to look for the answers to those questions. And I love that my kids, when they have questions, they have this desire to find the answer to that. And it's not something that they're become lazy. Well, somebody else will tell me what the answer is. Somebody else will do it for me. What do I have to learn just to get past this next step so I can move on? I want you to actually understand what you're learning, have a desire for that, and really, like you said, have a desire for a love for learning. And I think there's some of that. I mean, it's not all bad, but there's so much testing. There's so much testing going on. It's crazy. And you're learning for these tests. And then they're forgetting about it.
Right.
And it's a lot. It's a whole lot. And then while that's happening, there's a lot, like we were saying earlier, with the kids that are sitting down all the time. Hands-on activities are very, very important. Being able to just kind of interact with your peers. Group work is fun too, but I think being able to have a desire to be able to want to dive into this stuff on your own and kind of figure out what's going on. So,
is there any way, and this is one of my things, we know so much more educationally speaking about, we run into someone with dyslexia or fill in the blank. 30, 40 years ago, we don't know what to do other than just force. I mean, for crying out loud, in the last 100 years, the military forced everyone to be right-handed because we couldn't figure out how to teach left-handed people how to shoot a gun. Well, I look at it and I go, man, there's so many options now. It's true, or maybe you're not even talking to me.
I think even back
I can
in
hear
the,
you outside.
I want to say back in the 70s, they were even like that.
Right.
Like they was like, you couldn't cut with those scissors.
Right. But see, I see something like that and I say, okay, so educationally, if we have all these different options now, oh, sure, your brain turns the letters this way. We've got a thing that we've learned to trick. Part of the problem is it's hard to do that if you don't have enough people, and having more people per student, or I should say fewer students per teacher or per something.
Yes.
That gives you a really customized, but then when you suggest that in a public school setting, what are we talking about? Dollar signs. Now we have to hire more people.
But if we go through our budget and we start
That's
looking
my
at this
question.
stuff so much better, we can utilize the funds that we have. Teachers can get more. Listen, first of all, teachers are underpaid, in my opinion. I'll just throw that out there. I've seen what the pay is. I see how much it costs to live. I mean, let's talk about that. But we can utilize the funds that we have to be, there's just no way. This is a lot of money that can be very well detailed and tailored to meet the needs of the students, meet the needs of the staff, and make everybody see that we're budgeting the money well. I mean, we can do that.
So am I hearing like a Doge portal for the
Oh,
Wentzville
let me
School
tell
District?
you better believe it. I'll say that for sure. I'll be going through that. I mean, I actually find that fun. It's kind of a hobby for me to be able to go through and look through all that kind of stuff. So,
well, I mean, if we're talking about public tax dollars, and especially here, not just tax dollars, public tax dollars, and not our children. They are not our children, and children, parents, children that are in the care of these schools. I don't think there is a single thing that should not be 100% transparent,
me neither,
accountable, and accessible.
So I'll tell you this, there has been, and I've talked to other parents that have had these situations where there are things that are happening in the school with their kid and they're not getting all the information that happens, or they don't find out until way later after it's happened. So like their kid will come home and tell them about it and they're like, wait, what? And then they'll have to call the school and the school will be like, oh, well, about that. Well, wait a minute. You should have called me as soon as this was happening so we could be able to get in front of this at home, or just so I know what's going on. And I shouldn't be hearing it at the dinner table when I'm sitting down with my kid. This is not okay. I'm entrusting you with my kids. It's why I'm literally sending them. And I want us to communicate well together. If you're coming and dropping your kid off at my home and something is going on, I'm going to tell you right away because I want you to trust me that I'm doing the best I can and I'm being transparent with your child. This is the most important thing you have is your kid. So definitely transparency across the board needs to happen. And that is something that a lot of parents, since I've been outdoor knocking almost every day. I'll be out again tomorrow in the snow. They say that they want to know and they want to have transparency with the districts. And I feel a lot, not that I feel, but a lot of people have felt that has lacked, that there's only enough transparency just to keep you at bay, just to keep you quiet, just to keep you feel like we're giving you enough to tell you, but we're really not telling you everything. And that people are not happy about that at all.
Yeah.
So
Well, and that's, I mean, all the way back to our, the big blow up over school boards nationally that everyone heard about. Loudoun County, Virginia, right there. No transparency. And that seemed, well, there might have been some, some kind of woke agenda stuff, but there was also a lot of butt covering and lawsuit territory that they were in, which is a big, hey, you know what? I don't care if you're worried about getting sued. You got public dollar backing. I need you to be transparent, with me. But that, I think you just, what
well,
you
and even
touched
on smaller scales, like right now. So I went on to the district website. This was like last week. So if they've changed it since I've talked about it, they might have, but I took a video of it. So, but they put on the website that we were ranked number 17 in the state, and we're not. We're ranked number 21. Within 1 year, we have lost from 17 to 21, but our district's website still says we're at 17. It's a minor thing, but it's not a minor thing. I want to be able to, you know what I mean? Like we're under the impression 17 is still not great, but it's little stuff like that I'm like, if we're being not transparent with the small stuff, we're definitely not being transparent with the big stuff. So transparency is going to be key. And I feel like we're going to be set in a position after this election to be able to do that. It will be a totally different ballgame. And I think that scares some people who have been so used to being able to show up and rubber stamp everything and do what they've been doing all these years that have not been effective. But for the rest of everybody that out there that is sick of this, they're going to be very happy. So
the way we've always done stuff is a wonderful excuse,
right,
to cover things up, to not do your best, to not do something better, and that's the thing. Is it the way things were just because, or is it this? No, the real path forward. There's a better way. Let's do that. But it's harder. Let's do that.
Well, that's the thing. We don't want to do. We don't want to spend. We don't want to work harder. We don't want to do more work. And sorry, we have to. These are our kids we're talking about. I don't understand why that's such a hard thing to. Why is that so complicated? Are
you getting a sense from people as you go door to door that they feel the same way? Or?
I've been getting. I'll tell you, it's one of my favorite things I've been doing. I wasn't sure how, because I do like to meet people and mingle with people, but it's kind of scary to go up to someone's house that you don't know and be like, "Hey, will you please vote for me?" But I've had really great feedback. People, some people are just like, well, they don't even want to ask a whole lot of questions. They just kind of read what I've got and they're like, yeah, we're voting for you. So they're just sick of what they've been seeing and hearing that they're like, we're ready for a change. So I've had, I would say out of 100%, only 99.999% has been fantastic. And then every now and again, you'll get the wrong person that's just hateful and it's like, whatever,
I mean, it really, like we said earlier, local elections are the most, it's terrible that they have the lowest turnout because they're the most accessible people.
I feel like this might be a better one. I mean, I've really been talking, I hope so, because it's crazy. I've had a lot of great feedback. I mean, we've had some really great weather. So people have been outside washing the cars, working in the yard, and I've just walked up to them and they've been very receptive of what I'm talking to them about. And I wasn't really sure if that was going to happen or not because it's just scary to go up to talk to people in general. But I mean, everybody's kind of ready for things to be a lot different. I mean, a lot of people are ready. So
you want to give me a turnout number for Wentzville? We'll hold you to it. We can start a pool. No, I'm kidding.
I was like, oh gosh, don't do that to me.
No predictions. I don't believe in betting anyway around here. All the sports betting nonsense. Well, that's good to hear and understand because I really do. It's time for change. I think people feel it. People see it.
I think so too.
But it's going to require leaders to actually get in and hold to it. But I mean, it can't just be one of you.
Right.
It's got to be multiple people.
And you
on
have
a
to
school
stand
board.
strong. You can't go in there and be able to bend to the will of pressure. And that's something that I definitely will bring to the board. I'm not going to bend to the will of the pressure of I have to do something that I don't think is the right thing to do. That's not going to happen. If I don't think it's the right thing to do, I'm just not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to do what I think is right based off what the evidence, what people really want to see happen and where my convictions and stuff are. And that's, I hope, enough to get people to vote me in, but you'll know what you're getting. There's not going to be a confusion.
Do you have any names that other people might know or endorsements, people who are familiar with other people, but not you, that, you've got a list of people who support you? I mean,
I was,
who do you know?
I always, I'm like, am I saying this name right? The St. Charles County Central Republican Committee. They endorsed me. They also endorsed Danielle. So we're both running. And then on Facebook, I don't really get on there too much. I mean, I'm on there, but I really don't get on a lot. But I have seen people promoting an event. I'm going to be at the Lake St. Louis it's hosted by the Lake St. Louis Ambassadors. We're going to do a meet and greet, me and Danielle. It's March 18th at 7 p.m. And I've had people that just sharing it, just in general, just sharing it, being like, support these girls, people I've never met. So it's been really great to see when I do get on there and I'm able to see it. So yeah, we'll see.
That's really good.
It's coming around the corner. It's right. It's really real close.
It is, and we need more people. I mean, you're pulling it's like Dwight from The Office on the sales call. You're pulling the whole thing. Nope, here's my cell phone number, my pager number. I never sleep, and you're asking me to talk to you and not my 4 children. I can have an adult conversation. You can call me anytime.
You know what?
People.
The thing is
like,
I can multitask like you wouldn't believe. Ask my husband. I'm telling you right now, these kids, I can do that and I can do this. I am so good at that. So But my kids will always come first. I'm just a mom, and that's going to be the case. But I've managed to budget my time pretty well. So
no, that's good.
It's worked out well.
Well, Christina, remind folks where they can connect with you, find you on social media or email, whatever's best. And we'll talk to you again before the election. I want to catch up with you and maybe here at the end of the month and see how it's going. Yeah.
So again, on Facebook, it's Christina Macormic for WSD. Or I'm sorry, it's Christina Macormic for Wentzville School Board. That's on Facebook. And then and that's probably the easiest way to message me.
Okay.
I check in on there periodically. And then my email is McCormick, MACORMIC, the number 4 so it's for WSD at Gmail. Hopefully they figured that out. That was really
McCormick.
Just remember
WSD
McCormick, the spice, not spelled the same. Okay, just remember that.
Not the spice, but bringing the spice.
But bringing the spice
to the Wentzville School District.
That's right.
I like that. Well, I appreciate so much you spending some time with us and kind of telling us who you are, what you're about, and what you'd love to do. We need a radical change in education, and I think we're about to get it.
I hope so. I am excited.
State and local is about to get a whole lot more influential.
It's gonna be fun.
I'm all here for it. Thank you so much. Hey, folks, one more segment. Come on back on the other side of the break. We got just a little bit more reckoning left before we close it out today.